So a couple weeks ago, I did a video on the cicadas, the invasion that's going to take place apparently this year, this spring and summer, where these cicadas are going to come out in such numbers, over 1 trillion of these things. It's going to be the biggest cicada invasion that we have had since Thomas Jefferson was president, like 1802 or 1803 or something like that. Anyway, all this to say, and it's basically going to destroy the city of Chicago. Now, 20 years ago, they had a pretty good cicada invasion, and they actually had to use snow shovels to get them all out. And this is supposed to be even bigger. We'll see if that actually happens or not. But the reality is, wherever it happens, and if it happens, it's going to be free chicken food for everybody. That's the point I made in the video. And in the article, a number of the researchers and people who were predicting this said that the cicada invasion will be heavier in the cities. And I asked the audience, why do you think that is? Why do you think the cicadas will be heavier in the cities and not in the countries? And the overwhelming response that I got surprised me. You believe that it's because there's too many chemicals out there in rural America, and that's why the cicadas won't be as heavy in rural America. And I made the point, I believe probably it was because of the predators. There's more predators. Chickens being one of them. And I know, in a lot of places, chickens run feral. I mean, if you've been in some of these cities, we talked about that in a recent video too. But there's more predators. But so many of you put in the comments that you think that this was going to be because of chemicals, out there in farmland. And I admit, yes, they do use a lot of, Roundup Ready, insecticides and herbicides and stuff like that. And I'm sure that has a toll. But if you think for a split New York minute that there's less chemicals in the city than there are in the country, you are absolutely deluded and living in a complete, bubble. And I hate to be the one to burst your bubble. But the amount of chemicals that are in the cities is like off the charts compared to the country. And listen, I know if you live in northern Missouri or Iowa or Illinois, I say Illinois because some of you commented, it's not Illinois, it's Illinois. I'm from St. Louis, and at least everybody that I've ever met growing up in St. Louis is Illinois. Anyway, all that to say, Ohio, Indiana, all of this corn country, yes, they use a lot of Roundup and a lot of glyphosate. And yes, that's a horrible place. I would not want a well to drink the water from the ground in those areas for sure. However, and in life, there is always a however, as Frank Opinion would once say. Have you ever lived in the city? Because I have. And you see those trucks that drive by? True Green Chemlawn. Do you know the amount of chemicals that they put on those on your yards in suburbia? Do you understand that the vehicles that emit all of that carbon monoxide and they drip oil from their drip pans and antifreeze and transmission fluid, and that's everywhere in the cities and in suburbia? It's everywhere. You have a densely populated area, and they're all throwing chemicals everywhere. You have, I made a point in some videos ago about Florida. I think it's $100 million business every year just to spray for mosquitoes. Do you know, even in St. Louis where I lived, because I lived on the Merrimack Bottoms, right? So the Merrimack River runs through, there's 3 rivers that basically collide in St. Louis. You have the Missouri, you have the Mississippi, and you have the Merrimack. And on the Merrimack Bottoms, and I'm sure it's that way in other places on those bottoms, near those rivers, you have massive mosquito issues, and the trucks would come by, several times a year and just spray and fog up the entire neighborhood. If you think there's less chemicals in rural America, you have another thing coming, pal. Golf courses. I used to live next to a golf course, Quail Creek Golf Course, designed by Hale Irwin. I remember I met him one time and he signed a golf ball for me because that was out there in the woods run around picking up golf balls from golfers who didn't know how to play golf. And then I'd sell it back to said golfers for money. Anyway, all that to say, yeah, man, the amount of chemicals they put on those golf courses, it's insane. In fact, there's a lot of golfers come down with mouth cancer because what they'll do is, I mean, it's very well known. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. If you know about this, please leave a comment sustaining my, argument here. But these golfers get lots of mouth cancers because they're out there smoking cigars on the golf course, don't you see? And see, it's time for them to tee up. And so what they do with that cigar, there's no cigar holders around here. So what they do, they set it on the green, tee off, and then pick up that cigar and stick it right back in their mouth after all the chemicals that they'd sprayed on that green just that morning at about 5 a.m. Absolute insanity. Excuse me. I'm having a little bit of a throat issue today. But I'm okay. I'm taking all my good stuff to take care of it, but feeling pretty good. Anyway, all that to say, yes, there are way more chemicals in the cities and in suburbia than there will ever be in the country. Well, I mean, listen, I know they're spraying. I know they're doing stuff in the country too, but it's not even close to what's in the cities, guys. All the car emissions, all of the chemicals, all the True Green Chemlon, stuff out there. It's all the people who spray their houses constantly for insects because they can't handle the bugs. All those people. The amount of chemicals in the city is insane. Absolutely insane. So, again, my opinion is that these cicadas are going to be more in the country, less in the country because of the predator issue. There are more things that will eat them. Case in point, I did a video, years ago. I think it's got over 1 million views on how to kill a bazillion squirrels. One of my earlier videos we did when we first started the channel, how to kill a bazillion squirrels. I learned how to kill a bazillion squirrels because in the city where I lived, in St. Louis, we actually used to live in the city, and we had these tomato plants, these baby tomato plants, and they grew fantastic. And that's how we discovered rabbit manure and how great it works. And blackberries. I had blackberries too. And we put this rabbit manure, and they just exploded with tomatoes, and I had blackberries, and it was amazing. And then the squirrels figured it out. And I had a trapper friend of mine because I was learning how to be a trapper. And he said, Zach, you just need to build a squirrel pole. I'm like, what's a squirrel pole? Well, what you do is you take a piece of 2x4 or a pole or whatever, and you set it up on a tree at an angle of 45 degrees. And it is the hardest thing for a squirrel not to run up that pole. There's something that will draw them to that pole. They love to see it at that 45-degree angle, and they will run right up it into that tree. And what you do is you put 110 conibears. Conibears, it's spelled, every time I mention this in the video, people ask me, how do you spell that? Conibear. Conibear. It's a 110 conibear. Conibear. And what you do is you put about 5 of those things up and down that pole. And if you don't know how to build it, you can look it up. Conibear. Squirrel pole. And it's illegal in Missouri. It specifically states in the Missouri Department of Conservation regulations, you are not allowed to build a squirrel pole. The reason why it's illegal is because it works. I killed about 40, admitting here on YouTube that I broke the law. I killed about 40 squirrels in 1 week. Do you know why? And you know what? And I still didn't get a tomato or very few tomatoes or blackberries. You want to know why? Because killing 40 squirrels in a week in that little neighborhood didn't even make a dent in the squirrel population. And the reason is because there's no predators for squirrels. There's zillions of squirrels in the cities. All they do is eat trash and all the stuff that's out there, and there's no predators. It's the same thing with the cicadas in the cities. There will be more cicadas in the cities, not because there's more chemicals in the farming areas or in the rural areas. It's because there are no predators in the cities, which tells you right there, if you do believe in the Bible or a Bible-believing person of faith, just another reason to get out of the cities. Because if the plagues of Revelation do come again, chances are they're going to affect the cities the worst. Just saying. Maybe we'll do, instead of like lice this time, like in the Exodus, we'll have squirrels. I'm just saying, maybe it's a possibility. But I'm telling you right now, that video got 1 million views, and it's because the squirrel poll works, and there's no way you're going to make a dent in the squirrel population in the cities. Okay, a couple other things I want to talk about on Twitter. I saw this photo, and I believe it was, I'm not sure who originally posted it. Someone said it was Jim Carrey. I don't know. But this picture here is what they're selling in the supermarkets, and it's pre-peeled oranges. And you're like, are we really that lazy that we have to have someone peel our oranges for us before we eat them and then sell them to us in a plastic container? At this point, we deserve to be conquered by the Chinese or somebody. I mean, come on. Whatever it is coming over the border, it's at this point we deserve it. If we can't even peel our own oranges, it's all over. And this one too. Land O'Lakes butter balls. Now, I'm a guy who makes my own butter because I have a neighbor down the road who sells me raw milk every week, and I make my own butter. But you're telling me that you have to buy butter pre-made into balls? See, guys, this is insane. But the reason they sell it is because people will buy it. This is how far gone we are at as a country. And I'm telling you right now, if that's the case, we deserve to be conquered. In fact, getting conquered could probably be the best thing for humanity at this point. Because if we are this messed up, what do you think? Leave a comment below. This is what I'm getting ready for. You know, and if there's no hope. Butter balls? Pre-peeled oranges? Hey, I hope you've been watching the videos I've been making on the Perfect Pickler. I just started a new batch of sauerkraut the other day, and in my sauerkraut, I make onions, carrots, and there's garlic in here too with the cabbage. And so I just stopped this, took the lid off because this is the first 24 hours when you make your Perfect Pickler cabbage or sauerkraut. This is my version of sauerkraut. I put in other things, right? But sometimes it'll overflow, and you have to be careful with that. There's a cup in there that catches any overflow, and so I emptied that back out. But yeah, I just put the lid back on. It's already bubbling again, getting it down. If you've ever made wine, these bubblers will never bubble like a wine bubble will. Bubbler will bubble. That's the right thing. But they will. You will see the pressure from the CO2 being emitted, much to the chagrin of Al Gore or Greta Thunberg. When you make your sauerkraut, I have that one going. I have another one here going too. Absolutely fantastic. And opening it up this morning to check on it, and the bubbles are coming up on here pretty regular. Opening it, oh, it smells so good. I can't wait to get into this. It smells so good. And I'm telling you right now, like, you can make your own ferments. There's lots of recipes. If you order our kit on perfectpickler.com, most of the kits, the value package or the master system, will come with a recipe book. And when you buy that recipe book, it's got like 14 different recipes in it already. But like, if you just add garlic to your recipe, for some reason, I think garlic just gives it so much more flavor. It's like, I will always add garlic to most of my ferments because I just think it's just like taking it up a notch, kicking it up a notch, as Emerald, I think, used to say. All right, guys. Hey, what do you think? Do you eat pre-peeled oranges? I mean, seriously. Check out our merchandise, Stupid Should Hurt, our best-selling shirt of all time. If we had more hurt in this world, we'd have an awful, awful lot less people buying pre-peeled oranges. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And, yeah, am I right on the whole cicada thing? I think I am. I think the amount of chemicals in the city doesn't even compare to what's in the country. Not even close. I think it's completely lopsided. But I may be wrong. I think it's another example of the squirrels, and that's why we have so many squirrels. But if I'm wrong, leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. See you next time in the Homestead. Bye! Have you ever gone to a health food store and seen all those small bottles of probiotics in your cooler section? Man, can they be pricey. Are you really getting all you need to improve your gut health from those expensive bottles? How viable are they? Most of those products claim to give you between 8 and 15 strains of gut-healthy healing bacteria. Think of each strain of bacteria as a different factory in your gut. Each factory is responsible for breaking down that food in its own way. The more factories you have, the more the food is broken down and the easier the food is absorbed and digested by the body. A 2018 study published by the National Library of Medicine shows that one fermented head of cabbage can produce up to 114 strains of beneficial bacteria. That's a lot more food factories than you're getting from that expensive pill bottle. And that's just cabbage. Imagine the probiotics when you add garlic, onions, pepper, and more to that ferment. PerfectPickler.com and its home fermentation kits provide you with everything you need to get started making your own gut-healthy food factories from the comfort of your own kitchen. PerfectPickler.com even provides a jam-packed recipe book with many of our kits. Visit PerfectPickler.com and start fermenting your own veggies to begin your journey to better gut health. That's PerfectPickler.com.
Hey guys, did you know you can become a patron of an American Homestead? They get access to private videos, and we send them gifts from the homestead that we make here on the homestead. And we also enter our patrons into special giveaways that are only available to them. And before you go, please check out these other great videos. Go ahead, click. Oh wait.